All right. So this show is about solving real world problems, practical solutions. I'm Khalid. We've got my friend Claire here. We're going to react to different clips of Donald Trump and decide as best as we can logically if he's a good guy for the world. Is that right, Claire?
Yes, I believe you have a few clips for me. I must say I'm a Trump fan, Trump supporter. So I'll just declare um, my
Your
bias.
bias?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a fan of anybody. I'll declare my position. But I like anybody who does anything right, and Trump seems to be doing some seriously right things. So if anybody disagrees, we're eager to have you disagree with us in the live chat, and we're going to click on your comments and respond to them. We do try to get people with really different opinions, but we both happen to like Trump and what he's doing. But let's go for it.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you, You
strong.
will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right
From
about
the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think
You're gambling with World War III.
What you're
You're
thinking about?
gambling with
What you're
World
thinking
War
about?
III. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country,
I'm
that's
with all
back to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
Very
they
respect.
should have. Don't tell us.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to play a lot of epic videos like that. I think this is seriously epic. I'm going to give my quick response, then have Claire, and then we'll kind of deep dive into it, and then we'll play the next clip. Um, it's actually really true that we are playing with World War III, first of all, right? Because we're playing with, you know, a nuclear power called Russia, and we're pushing them onto to their limits, right? So putting them in a corner. That's a very bad idea. So messed up people who support the the war machine, as it were, right? Second of all, as a Muslim, my immediate reaction is this guy Trump is saving lives. Whatever you think of him, like he said bad things about Muslims, right? And a lot of Muslims hate him, right? Because he said bad things about Muslims in the past. It doesn't matter. Muslims are told in the Quran, we're here for the good of humanity. So if he's saving lives, he's stopping a war, he's building relationships with Putin, that's a good thing. So I'm just going to quickly, I'm not going to go into too much. I've got a couple of quotes that I think are really important. I'm just going to put that on the screen. If you're not grateful to human beings, you can't be grateful to God. And there's some wisdom that I could briefly explain it, which is it's even though God is, far more generous than any human being can be, like he gives air and all that kind of stuff, it's a lot more subtle what God gives. But if you can't see the obvious stuff, then you're not going to be able to see, you're not going to be able to be like the apparent direct physical stuff, like there's Trump, he's saving people, he's stopping a war, then you're not going to be able to be grateful for the more subtle things that God provides. Those are my very quick thoughts. I'd probably say a lot more, but what are your thoughts, Claire?
I thought what was most revealing was Zelensky arguing with Trump. Would you be arguing with the president of America when you need his help to continue the war, right? Because Zelensky is, basically hoping for America to continue funding the war. And if you're being told off, you shut up, don't you? It's sort of something that even a reasonably bright child would know. Sometimes, arguing about it just prolongs the agony, and you take your punishment silently.
Yeah,
And
I mean, well, I think
I
what's
thought it was
happened.
particularly undignified of him to even be arguing with Trump.
Yeah, and
I
people have it the
finished.
wrong way around. Yeah, people have it the wrong way around. I mean, they think Trump and America should be paying billions of dollars for a war in another country. They should be. And Europe aren't even paying anywhere near it, unless they're neighboring country, right? They should be. And I think that's what's happened to Zelensky. He's got used to this idea, just turn up and take billions. And it's insane. Yeah, it is insane. And people are insulting Trump. They're saying Trump was undignified. It's like, I love Trump. If I was in his position, I would do the same. I put people in their position, in their place when I have to, because they need to, right? If they're saying something wrong. And you can't just turn up. And so that's one side of things. Like, it's shocking that this guy from the president of Ukraine can just turn up and expect money from another country to fight their war. Okay. But on top of that, he's completely oblivious to like the fact that his people are dying for a whole year. They're dying. It's insane. And he just wants to continue the war. But I don't think he's oblivious. He's a psychopath, really. I don't think any reasonable person would continue the war for so long. The war could have ended a long time ago. Boris Johnson famously just continued the war, encouraged him to continue the war. And
the Europeans,
yeah,
and the Europeans want to continue the war.
Unbelievable.
I.e., our leaders, Macron,
yeah,
Starmer. I'm not sure about Germany, but you know, it's crazy when you think about it, because every time there's a war in Europe, it becomes a world war. And it's like we have European leaders who don't even understand that, or don't even know enough of their own history to anticipate that. And having the, I mean, it is, you know, we are being led by lunatics. I mean, all the people who call Trump evil and mad and stupid, they're the ones who are mad, evil, and stupid, are they not? Who are these people who hate Trump so much they don't get it?
I think people think war is a computer game or something where people aren't really dying. Like, Trump is literally stopping people from dying. Like, if somebody came to your house and shot your parents, and then somebody else came to stop it, you'd be like, thank you. Like, this is a million times worse what's happening in Ukraine. And Putin is like ready to stop. He's, you know, Putin is happy with America and eager to stop. They don't want this war. It's really obvious, you know, and we know what built up to this, NATO increasing their numbers in all the European countries, breaking all their agreements with Russia, etc., etc. So absolutely shocking. I feel like I'm going to play step by step through this video a little bit and kind of talk about some of the issues.
That's what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling.
Yeah, like, who is this guy? Like, you're going to feel this or whatever, right? Like, he's the real problem is he's distracting from the real issue. He's saying that, you know, like, he doesn't realize that he's continuing a really dangerous war, and he's encouraging Trump and saying, you need to fight this war, rather than say, actually, we need to make friends with Russia.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't.
He's being a bit like a child. I'm not playing cards. Like, you don't understand the phrase. You don't have the cards. You don't have money. What are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Yes, he who pays a piper calls a tune. I mean, it was started and financed by America, right? I mean, that's the whole idea of it. And before I forget, I mean, you know, I ask myself, who are the people who most hate Trump? And it was mentioned that it would be university-educated white middle-class women who are the ones who hate him most. So I don't know, is there a problem with these women or not? I don't know.
That's really interesting. Are they liberals?
Yes, they tend to be liberals, but I mean the other thing, about it is that conscription. It would have to be conscription of European men, and I don't think they'll be conscripting white European women, will they? Not yet. I mean, the kind of push, the pushing for women in the front line, but hopefully. And it's the women who don't know they don't have to fight who are most warmongering, in my view.
Yeah, it's like those women in the streets who slap a stranger and then expect their boyfriend to, fight them, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, really shocking that these European countries who don't have the money, like you said, you don't know what about Germany. Germany are saying they would like to be in this war, but they literally said they can't fight the war. They don't have the means, so that's it. There's no option there. I think that was a clip that you sent me. I can't remember who it was, but anyway. Yeah,
you're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Yeah, absolutely. Gambling with people's lives, and he doesn't seem to care, and he just continues talking.
And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you far more than a lot of people said they should have. Don't tell.
I'm just going to add another point. People said that they were bullying this guy, like somebody asked him, why doesn't he wear a suit, right? I mean, isn't it really transparent? He's just playing a game or playing a role, I should say, because he is an actor, right? That was his previous job.
Yeah, and that's his costume. He's in character.
Exactly. I'm a war hero. I can't wear a suit because I don't have enough money, but I probably came on a private jet.
Yeah, because they think he's some kind of war hero. That's what the media have presented him as, and he can't suddenly be dressed in a lounge suit like everybody else. So the whole thing is this propaganda exercise, and I just wanted to say that I've discussed Ukraine with two female associates, and it's like they're very happy to accept the BBC narrative of it, that the Russians started it, the Russians invaded, and Zelensky seems a nice guy. He's got a full head of hair, and his wife was in vogue. It's that shallow. How can you argue against that? If you have, wives and sisters and daughters and mothers, it's like, well, Zelensky is getting the support of media. And Trump is always being slagged off by mainstream media. And that they're basically going with whoever they think is going to be the winner.
Yeah. I think that brings us back to why Trump is hated by women, because first of all, women aren't really interested in politics. I mean, the level, like if he's what color his hair is, or if he's bald or not, that's not really being interested in politics. And the thing with Trump, he's a traditional person, right? He doesn't want his wife to work. I think he's talked about that as well, that it made his wife more manly and aggressive and stuff.
And he's got a supportive wife. I mean, imagine if he didn't have a supportive wife. I don't think he'd be able to do it.
Yeah, people don't value the role of wives in supporting their husbands. Really important. Okay, there's probably a lot more to say, but that's probably what it is.
I know men who said, if my wife didn't allow it, I wouldn't be doing it. I mean, they've actually acknowledged the role of their wives and said, well, if my wife didn't agree, I would do it. And actually, the Cicero was writing a kind of how to participate in Roman politics guide. And he was basically saying, first, if you want to participate in Roman politics, make sure that your wife agrees, because if she doesn't agree, she's going to sabotage everything you do. So, don't even try if your wife doesn't want you to be a politician. And, if she hates it, then don't even think of doing it.
So there's a statistic that says married men make more money, right? So there's a reason behind that. And there's another statistic, maybe you hate statistics, I think you mentioned it, but married men have the most sex, right? So that's a really important thing. Like essentially, I would say sex for men is like eating. If you're not eating, you can't really function properly. So there's a lot of things, the positive roles that women provide that isn't valued in a capitalistic society on the surface, because you can't monetize all those things easily. So yeah, I definitely agree. There are very positive roles that women play in the background, and just because it's in the background doesn't mean it's unimportant.
Yeah, because it's not included in the GDP, right? I mean, that's the thing. So it doesn't count, and you send the wife out to work. But really, marriage has got to be made a good bargain for men again. You know, if they think my life is going to be better after marriage, my status is going to rise, better things are going to happen, then it's only then that they'll do it. Otherwise, it's like, well, why bother? Why, pay money and have my life restricted and not be treated like the boss?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there has to be some value in it for men. And that's why marriage is going down the drain, because people don't understand. Everybody has to bring something to the table, not just demand things, which is the liberal way for asking your rights rather than working on your responsibilities, which is what really makes the world go round. Okay, so that's one clip. There's loads of great clips, very interesting. Whoops, I clicked on this thing by accident. Let me copy it properly. So next one, another incredibly important clip related to Ukraine. Let's play it.
What concessions would you like to see?
Oh, I don't want to tell right now, but I can tell you that NATO you could forget about. I think that's probably the reason the whole thing started.
What concessions would you like to see?
Oh, I don't want to.
Oh, that's nice and short. Cool. Absolutely, so short, but absolutely massive. Like we couldn't even imagine, the US, which essentially started NATO. Isn't that right? But they're clearly the biggest backers behind NATO. Which, for people who don't know, NATO is an organization to fight Russia. Like, what kind of organization is that? Like, how can you imagine having an organization to fight the UK or America and everybody's joining it? That's just mind-bogglingly ridiculous. And then you keep having all of Europe increasingly joining it, and then at the end, Ukraine. That's just a joke. So I think this is a huge thing for Trump to say, and he said it so easily. So I just want to say,
play it again.
Sorry, play it again.
Yes.
What concessions would you like to see?
Oh, I don't want to tell right now, but I can tell you that NATO you could forget about. I think that's probably the reason the whole thing started.
What concessions would you like?
That's all it is. It's like
Yeah,
speaking the truth.
because he said NATO. NATO is the whole thing of it all, right? And he's saying, I think I might say goodbye to NATO. And if the Europeans are not, doing their bit, we're out of here. We're out of Europe. That seems to be the implication, and that's presumably why they tried to kill him twice.
Yeah, that could be it. I'm a bit confused about the really crappy assassination attempts, but yeah. Okay. And you said earlier on that you thought that one of the biggest haters of Trump would be liberal women who go to universities or something.
Yes.
And shockingly and really sadly, I think also amongst one of the big groups are Muslims, because when I talk to Muslims, they pretty much all seem to be automatically hate Trump. I mean, is that your experience?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Daniel Hakikatu was kind of saying, well, he's going to be better than Biden, way back in 2020. So I think Trump has the reluctant respect of actually most people who hate him. Even if he says mean things and rude things about Muslim and Islam, about them being terrorists and shithole countries, you do actually get Muslims coming out online and saying they're a MAGA Muslim.
Oh, really? Okay,
No, I mean, I know a few of them. So
that's good.
hmm,
Maybe I'm just talking to the wrong kind of people. I don't know, but they seem to react immediately. That Quran group that we both participate in sometimes, or are part of at least, but they're liberals, aren't they? And they were immediately, no, Trump is evil. Like, even I said, didn't Trump save loads of people in Gaza? So, which we're going to get to in a minute. It's like, no, they didn't. He hasn't stopped anything. There's not. It's like, what are you talking about? I just want to throw in this other quote that's really important for Muslims, at least, and I think anybody really with a conscience. It's like, the Muslims are told, you are sent, or you are a group to save humanity. Like, if you don't do that, you're not better than anybody, right? So, like, this guy Trump is saving humanity right now. He's stopping this insane thing called NATO, which is a warmongering group, like, completely unnecessary. Okay, and Trump is just doing it easily. He's just like, yeah, forget it. Like, this is a big deal. They've been building up NATO for how long? What, 50 years or something, since the last World War?
mm,
And do you know what I mean? Like, this is like, okay, I won't go on about it, but like, if you're a Muslim and you care about like the world, this guy is trying to save the world. So be thankful, like I said in my last quote, and be part of it. Like, value this guy is trying to make the world a better place. So anyway, that's just another quote there. Let's move on to the next one. Or should we move on to the next one? Do you want to add to it?
no, I just agree with what you said, that Muslims should be grateful when they have a slightly better Western politician and American president than what they had before.
About a million times better by the time we get to. He's already done amazing things, like stopping a war is a frigging huge thing. How long has the Ukraine war been going on for?
2 to 3 years, off the top of my head.
How many hundred? I don't know how many hundred billions. It didn't really matter, right? Because like, it's just going to be a number, right? Just hundreds of billions of dollars wasted. And you've got homeless people. You've got endless homeless people in America. What's going on? It's a joke.
Well, dead Europeans is another thing.
And
right?
dead Europeans.
I don't know how many people have died on both sides. Do you happen to know how many Russians and Ukrainians?
If we said the number, the people watching, they're so used to people just dying all the time. It's like, yeah, oh, it's just another number, right? A lot of people are dying. That's it.
They instead.
Okay, this is the one that really winds Muslims up, and this is going to be really interesting. Trump taking over the US. Have I got it to the end? I'll try to rewind it right there. Go.
They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. They instead can.
So I just want to make a few comments. Like, people hang on every single word Trump says without really understanding how he communicates. He just said for 100 years. Like, that's not numerically correct, but understand the idea. Okay. And he said something really important that there's a lot of things people don't get, right?
That will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
I'm just getting to a really important
do a real job. Do something different. Just can't
do
go back.
Something
if you go back.
Different.
There'll probably be a Trump Tower on the Gaza Strip.
Listen, you know what? If he saves hundreds of thousands of lives, let him have 10 Trump Towers. That should be like, people get like all these silly medals, right? Let him have that medal if that makes him happy, right? It's worth thousands of lives and so much death and misery for 75 whatever years it's been, right? So people don't like his out of the box, seemingly crazy thinking, right? But first of all, I think most people who don't get him are not business entrepreneur types, right? So like I've heard of like things that he's done in his business life. Like there's some famous, do you know Shark Tank? I don't know if you follow it. I don't really follow it too, but there's a entrepreneur that I like called Barbara, and she had a run in with Trump, not run in, but whatever the phrase, but like they were doing a deal, and she was amazed about how he turned the deal upside down. There's a bunch of, I think, Chinese people who are supposed to buy one building, and he made them buy 100 buildings, right? And if you follow Trump's, right, there was that super rich billionaire, like one of the richest people in the world, and he was shaking his hands, and the billionaire was going like, "Oh, I'll give you 100 billion," and Trump was shaking his hands to say, "You can give us 200 billion." He's like, "Yeah, sure." Like that's what Trump does. He does crazy big things, like I'm gonna, have Greenland or something like that, right? So you just might not get it, and I think I get it because I think I understand what's happening. I've done live streams in detail about the problem in Palestine. People don't understand that Palestinians are not exactly innocent. People just don't want to hear that, right? Okay. They pick fights that they're going to lose, and they also have a solution as well, and people don't understand that, right? The Quran talks about the solution: have patience, be good people. You're going to take over Israel anyway, and anybody who studied the situation a little bit knows that Palestinians have all the kids. Okay, Israel already depends on Palestinian for cheap labor. Okay, all they have to do is not fight, and they'll essentially take over. It's just like Muslims taking over the UK, a silent revolution, right? Very easy. Stop fighting. Take this. And I'm going to put one more quote because what's happening, I think, one of the reasons, I'm just going to be very quick about this. One of the reasons why Muslims don't like Trump, and they really need to, because if we want to save Palestinians, because I think lives are at risk here if people don't calm down and actually use their brains, is that they don't trust Trump, right? They're not looking at what he's doing. They're thinking, oh, well, it's not going to be a long-term ceasefire. They're saying the Palestinians won't be allowed back and stuff like that. And apparently he said something like that. But actually what I've listened to, he said that he's not going to force the Palestinians out. He is going to give them somewhere to live. And this is the thing I really don't get, the way Muslims are being really emotional. They're being really emotional and saying like, oh, why should they leave Gaza? There's nothing left in Gaza. Trump didn't make it happen. But if you care about human beings, if my family was in Gaza, I would not want them to be there. There's no water supply there. I like my family to have a really, all the creature comforts. But in Gaza, they got the opposite of creature comforts. They've got nothing. They don't even have anything at all. It's all destroyed. No systems, no sewage systems, nothing. How on earth can a true Muslim who loves other Muslims, and they should love all people, actually say you should stay there? You should be encouraging them to leave. And Islam teaches if you leave for the sake of God, the world is plenty, you'll be taken care of. Why are you attached to this small bit of land? It's almost, I would say, it's un-Islamic to be attached to this land, because it's like you're depending on that land. Anyway, so those are my thoughts, and this verse of the Quran is saying, don't be suspicious of people's intention. Look at what Trump is doing. He's saving people. Be grateful. Don't be suspicious. Depend on God. Anyway, so what are your thoughts?
Well, I was saying really that I think a lot of people don't have the right idea about Israel. They sort of think, oh, it's run by the Jews. Actually, it's an American colony, because if you think about it in that way, it is run like an American colony. All the, even the way that they celebrate Independence Day, barbecues, in July, it's being celebrated as if it were, part of America. It's a liberal democracy.
I don't know. I thought it was the other way around, because Israel doesn't benefit America. Maybe I don't understand it. You can tell me, right? I mean, I've heard this claim that I mean, I can understand it to the extent that it's a war base.
It's a colonial outpost, right? Because Israel has geopolitical significance in that it gives whoever controls it access to the Mediterranean Sea. America is a marine empire, and also access to the Red Sea, and it's next to the Suez Canal. I mean, there is a reason why Trump was saying let's make the Panama Canal the Pan American Canal or something. So because you want to control all the choke points of different parts of the world, so you can it's like making people pay you a toll on your toll road.
I get that. Yes, clearly Trump likes control, and I get his point of view. Like, he doesn't want to be controlled by if he doesn't have control of the Panama Canal, then he doesn't have control, and people could take advantage of it and pay. I think that, I don't know, they're charging a lot. And you know what? He's not the only one. China is buying everything around that point. So it's not like he's the only one. So he'd be stupid not to do something about it. I'm not sure if I do necessarily things the way he's doing it. He's quite aggressive, but I haven't thought about it too much, right?
I mean, the whole point of Israel is that, it's like, okay, that the British were talking about India, jewel in the crown. There was even a drama series about it. So when Britain controlled India, it was like, oh wow, what a prize! It's the greatest thing, and I think for Americans to or any of the Abrahamic religions, it's like, we control Israel. We're the boss around here, if they're Christian, if they're Muslim, and I think it's always been a kind of people fight over it, right? Christians and Muslims want to control Israel because it kind of makes them it's a prestigious colony. It's like, we control Israel, and therefore, we're the bee's knees. We're really powerful. Whatever. Do you think that might be something to do with it? With why people are so attached to it? It's the Holy Land. There's something holy about Israel, and I think. I mean,
strategically, it's important. So you've got to give it
as well as its reason for, as well as reasons of prestige. I mean the British even. William Blake, the poet, he wrote a poem about Jerusalem. It's now a song. The British sing it. About the idea that Jesus might have come to Britain, and they even started a religion called British Israelism, which was kind of what they were going to do to administer Israel when they got the Palestine Mandate in 1918. But since they didn't hang on to it for very long, it was aborted. But I mean, the whole idea was to make certain, British people think, oh, we are the chosen ones, not the Jews, and we have to go and live in Israel and fulfill our destiny as a nation, and blah blah, and obviously to fight the Arabs and keep an eye on the oil. If it had all happened in the way the British had hoped, but it didn't.
Yeah. I'm gonna step through this incredibly important video because a lot of people hate Trump because of this video, and talk about bits of it, and maybe we can both discuss bits of it. Let's go.
Oh yes, yeah. You're gonna. Okay.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
We're watching an ad now.
They instead can occupy.
Go on. So you're going to say?
I was going to say that okay, my mum doesn't like Trump, and she hated this, and I was saying, what is the problem? Because America owns Israel anyway. You may disagree, but it's I mean, what he plans to do is to turn it into the Middle Eastern Riviera, where with yachts and things, and this idea of the French Riviera or the Italian Riviera, and it's all going to be beautiful and full of trendy cafes and posh hotels and that sort of thing. So why would Gazans hate that? Why would Gazans hate that?
Yeah,
If they
because
could-
they've got this really weird contradiction in them, and that is that they say they want to die for their land. That's what they say, right? But when they die for their land, they complain. Like, be clear. And these people, like, when you get to know them, I don't want to try to be too insulting, but like, they are really aggressive. They like to fight. They don't understand negotiating. Like, people say that, oh yeah, they want peace and whatever, but a lot of them just don't want peace. They actually do want to get rid of Israel and whatever. They don't want to work together, and if you just have to play videos by them, like, watch any video with them on it, they don't seem to find a middle way. My point is that what's been going on for 75 years hasn't worked, all this back and forth. And if Trump got in the middle, it would just get solved. I think it would get solved. I don't think Palestinians are capable, really, of being peaceful. I know that sounds really, really bad for people who don't really understand what's happening there. So I'm an Ahmadi Muslim. There are lots of Ahmadi Muslims living in, I'll tell you two interesting things. They're living in Israel, right? Places like Haifa and whatever, and they're peaceful relationships with the Jews. We have, like, rabbis and everybody, coming to our mosques and having peace conferences and everything, as we always do, right? So it's not really, we can live peacefully with them, right? They're even employed, like I said. Palestinians are employed by the Jews, right, for their work. Okay. And the other very interesting thing, just to put, to understand what's happening in Gaza, Ahmadi Muslims and people who don't support Hamas are persecuted by Palestinians in Gaza. So that should try to help you understand what's really going on. It's not like Palestinians are evil or they deserve being killed at all. But they're definitely not innocent, and they could have been more peaceful. And when I listen to Trump say what he's saying, I'm thinking these Palestinians are not going to solve the problem. And also, the Israelis are just as stubborn as the Palestinians, right? They're just as insane in many ways, right? Okay, so I think you need a third party like Trump, who's a bit more, he sounds crazy, but he's way more level-headed. And what would happen, like I said, I don't want to repeat it too much, but people would probably can't understand this. What's going to happen is that the Palestinians the Muslims are really scared that the Palestinians who go out in this wonderful place or city that Trump is going to make for them outside Gaza for a bit, because there's nothing in Gaza to live in, right? So after a while, when they're rebuilding Gaza, it's gonna be the Palestinians who do it. They're actually really good at what they do. Like, okay, we've got half of where I'm in Jordan, neighboring country. Palestinians are really good workers. They do really good, precise work. Okay, half the country is Palestinian. Okay, so they're just really good at it. They know the climate. They also are the only people who are going to tend to the farms. These Jews are Europeans. They don't even get the climate. They don't understand how to run a country. The country would be dead without the Palestinians. So they will inevitably come back if they're patient. But the problems with Palestinians and Muslims in general, they don't play chess. What I mean is they don't think 10 steps ahead. They just run with their emotions. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a Labour problem, basically, right? And I think if you turn the Gaza Strip into the Israeli Riviera, you'll need people to work there. So the Palestinians will have a place, and they will rebuild it, and then they can come back to better accommodation.
Yeah, it's just like in the UK, right? There's all the white British people, whatever, who hate foreigners, yeah, but they won't run the farms or pick the strawberries and things, right? So it's like the Jews might hate the Palestinians, but they still need them. It's the same thing. They're Europeans. They're not used to hard work. Okay, they will need these Palestinians. When Netanyahu was killing off all these Gazans, he realized he was killing off his labor force, and he asked for what, 200,000 Indians or something? I can't remember, but they didn't come, and they wouldn't do the job properly because they don't understand the country as well.
Mhm.
Right, so like this, it's all been. There's lots of evidence that what I'm saying is going to happen. I think this is worth saying, right? This is maybe a bit funny, I don't know. So we both know Nossom. He's come on the show. He's a Zionist, right? He's a friend of mine. And I said to him, I like Trump because I think he's secretly helping Muslims. And he said, I agree. And that's why I hate Trump. Right. So if you're smart, you'd actually understand. You kind of know what's going on. There's a game, and Trump is actually quite a nice guy. He's like, you don't go around stopping wars because you're a bad guy. That's the default. Continuing wars, killing people. You know, like what have all the other presidents been doing? They've been going around all the Arab countries, killing millions of people, literally killing millions of people. He's doing the opposite. There must be something in him, right? What do you think? Like, doesn't it, like, isn't the default for America to go around killing everybody, and he's doing the exact opposite? Isn't that like, what do you think about that?
Well, the point is he has positioned himself as the champion of the American proletariat, right? And the American working class do not appreciate joining the army, being sent to exotic places and getting killed or maimed, and nobody, caring, because it's like, what were you doing in Afghanistan and Iraq anyway? We don't understand the reason for these lot wars, and if you want to join the army and we don't care about you. And veterans were badly treated, and he was always going on about the vets and so I think he has consistently shown that he cares about the lot of the American working class, and that is why he has their absolute loyalty, I think, and that is why I think white middle class college educated women hate him so much, because he has the support of basically the kind of men that they hate. These white middle class college educated women hate.
I would agree. Whatever if they hate them or not, the point is, I think the really important point is that it's the poor white people who go to these foreign countries and get killed. And they get killed and they come back mentally disturbed, PTSD, whatever they call it. So yeah, it's great that Trump is supporting the poor in his own country. Maybe I'll just play a little bit more and then.
By all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again.
I don't know. What can you say? Exactly. They've been doing it again year after year. Like, he's giving some hope, and I'm not sure if I should say it. I probably, yeah. Like, my mother-in-law, she's Syrian, and the Jews have taken, well, Israelis have taken the Golan Heights. She's actually really happy. She says you should take the rest of it. Like, you actually, because they've developed it really well, and the Arabs actually like how well the Israelis have, developed it. So I would say something like this, and I think Nossom agreed with me, right? That even if then this might be really
The
shocking.
U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
Even if the Israelis took out, I won't say this because it would be really politically dangerous. But anyway, the point is that they need each other. The Palestinians and Israelis, if they work together, they would be great. They really would be great, because the Israelis are not like hard laborers. Palestinians are, and they're really good at what they do. And because they do things to a really high standard. I love going to shops and everything over here in Jordan because it's run by Palestinians who do things with such a high standard. They're not good at high-tech stuff, but they're good at the low-tech stuff and doing it really well. And I think the Israelis are kind of the opposite end of the stick sort of thing, and they would be a good team. So those are my thoughts. Yeah, cool. All right, shall we move on?
Go on.
Cool. Some other amazing stuff. So I think I'll do this is, oh, wait a second, let me just check. What's this one? I'm not even sure what this one is. Oh yeah, okay, really, I'll go through this really quickly. It's an important one, but I don't think there's much to say.
He was the only one who wasn't
Maybe
laughing
there is.
along.
$40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $8 million for making mice transgender.
It's funny, but it's so wrong. Like, America doesn't have money, and they're throwing money around in ridiculous projects all over the world, right? And some people might say, "Oh, that's really good, supporting LGBT in some random country." Like, really? Is that like your number one priority? Yeah. So my takeaway from that is like a ridiculous amounts of money being wasted in America. And great, thank you. I mean, people should be grateful to this guy. What are your thoughts?
Well, absolutely, because it's just like, oh, a faint whiff of common sense at last in Western politics. Instead of all the, crazy spending for things that we can't explain properly, because it's so stupid and we're not even supposed to question it without being called names. So yeah, I think Trump has the admiration of many, many non-Americans.
Cool. Another quick one. Let me just play this.
As you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility.
I just like the way he's just changing things up and doing really obvious things. So I guess that means like YouTubers can participate. And like YouTube is way more important than I think most TV, whatever, as they call it, legacy outlets. What's your opinion?
Well, yes, because I think people just prefer an interactive way of receiving news. So, we hear about it and we can talk about it, in the chat with other people who, are viewing the channel. And, it's just more fun than just sitting there and just taking it in a passive way.
But I don't think it's just about fun. I think the problem is that people recognize that all these big news outlets, whatever you're going to call it, are bought up by people like Rupert Murdoch who've got an agenda. It's not news anymore, it's just propaganda. So that's why people go to YouTube and all these other people, because I think a lot of YouTube channels are bought up slowly, but it's really hard to buy up everybody, control everybody. So I think people like the sort of relative independence of YouTube. I mean, isn't that important?
Yeah, because you can still choose, who you want to listen to and who you want to associate with. And we can all form our own online communities and get the kind of news we want and the commentary we want. And, whoever is presenting them, might see things in a way that we prefer to.
But do you think, if you compared mainstream media, the big newspapers, BBC and all that, which one do you think is more independent? Like YouTube channels, or I mean, it's a bit of a random, vague thing to say, but on average, maybe YouTube channels versus mainstream media, which one's more independent?
A YouTuber would be more likely to be stating his own honest opinion. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I think that's kind of really important, isn't it? Like, the news should be independent, and they're going to get more independent people to ask questions of Donald Trump. I think that's obvious and fantastic.
Yes, because you just reminded me of this cartoon I saw of a woman telling of her daughter, saying, if you continue telling lies, you'll grow up to be a BBC journalist.
You'd be grown up to be a what?
A BBC journalist.
Oh,
If you continue telling lies, he
Oh,
said to
I
a
see.
naughty, lying daughter, you'll grow up to become a BBC journalist, like it was a bad thing.
yeah, absolutely. I don't know.
And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Wow.
Wow. Common sense.
Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone.
It kind of makes me laugh at the end, but I thought it was really beautiful the way he said, like, we're perfect the way we are made, you know. And it wasn't just that. It's the thing about like the way God made you. Now
He mentioned God, yes, that was the key thing.
Okay, I tell you why it's the key thing for me though, not just because I believe in God. Because when you're an atheist, you don't have any fundamentals or foundations. It's like a man can be a woman, you feel like a cat, therefore you're a cat, blah blah blah. And America desperately needs some sort of foundation, something that actually makes sense that you can build on. America, you can't build on anything when you just think everything is possible. Marriage doesn't matter, or maybe it does, or do whatever you feel like. You have a feeling, therefore it's true, or something. You know, I feel like a cat, therefore I'm a cat. You know, I feel like a woman, therefore I'm a woman, even though I'm biologically a man. For me, it's beautiful that he's actually giving America hope by giving it some foundations rather than, I feel like America's standing on quicksand in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like there's nothing that's for sure. You're just creating mental illness en masse. And I think it's a beautiful thing. He's just saving so many children. And it's like there are boys who think they're men, and this is children. These are children, and they have their penises cut off. It's like, obviously, after 10 years, they're gonna come back. This is my opinion. I don't know if people get upset by this on YouTube still. I don't know, but it's like there's a good chance that they're gonna seriously regret chopping off their penis. I mean, what's your opinion?
All these irreversible things. I mean, children are mad and silly. They accuse each other of being mad and silly. So give them the opportunity to be mad and silly and not let them carry out, something that they might be doing because they're mad and silly. But in the case of Western governments, the government encourages them to be mad and silly and make decisions that will irreversibly affect the rest of their lives. And I am appalled that so many parents go along with it.
Because they don't have any foundations themselves. They don't know, like, this is definitely wrong, this is definitely right, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? If you're a Muslim, Christian, I don't know about Christian anymore, but if you're really religious and you believe in God and you have some foundations in, scripture or something, this is right, this is wrong. And if you don't have any of that, you just go along with, I don't know, maybe that random doctor knows better, and that random doctor is getting paid about, like, literally I think they make $1 million or something for every patient, like, overall through all the operations. Like, you're trusting somebody who's going to make money out of abusing your child. Okay, that's smart. So I think it's whatever you want to say. This is such a beautiful thing for me. Like, if you have like any feelings for children and humanity and stuff, like, I thought that was really touching for me. Like, telling people they're perfect, and
Yes,
saving them.
and to accept the sex organs that you were born with. Because the whole idea is that if God made you male or female, try and accept it. You might wish sometimes you were the other sex, but just it's more practical to get used to being, male or female, even though you don't like it, because there is no other choice, really.
Sure. I think the better way I would like to put it, and kind of along the Trump lines, is that, like, if you start realizing God made you, and then you just look at nature and you go, wow, how perfect is nature? Like, how amazing is it made, right? Then you just look at yourself, well, I've been given these parts. I am perfect. God made me perfect. Like, that would be the more obvious thing to believe, rather than I'm in the wrong body, which doesn't fit with the rest of our understanding of nature. It's like, oh, you see a tree and you go, oh, those leaves are on the wrong tree. You never think that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So the idea would be, it's like be grateful that you were given life, and not be, complaining about being in the wrong body, because I think, okay, even if you don't want to be a member of the opposite sex, you might say, oh, I wish I were taller, or, smarter, or, prettier, or, whatever. It's like, well, just make the best of what you've got, and still be happy.
Yeah.
And still live a simple life.
I think it's important to also understand why some of these problems are occurring. Why do, I think some men dress up women because they're unable to express their emotions, and they think, oh, women seem to be expressing. This is what I feel, right? I don't know. I get the sense that they feel like us men, and it is often the truth that in British society, in Western society, men are not able to express their emotions. And so they go, oh, we want to be like women and express our emotions like women. And so I would say, if you came back to religion, I try not to say Islam, but I definitely think Islam creates the atmosphere where people can express themselves. And Prophet Muhammad used to cry and stuff like that, even though he was a big, huge, famous warrior as well. And encourages people to hug each other and stuff like that, which you don't have in at least the UK anymore. You can't even hug each other as men. So in short, what's happening is, in atheistic societies, where people become increasingly individualistic, they become separate, unable to connect and express themselves. If they came back to religion, even if they came back to, I would say, hardcore Christianity, not watered down Christianity or Judaism or just Islam or something, you would have community, you'd be more connected, and you wouldn't want to, I don't know, you wouldn't feel like you're in the wrong body or something. You'll feel totally at ease with who you are, because religions give you a role and let you connect in the way you need to as a man or a woman or whatever. So do you think that? I mean, why do you think just briefly addressing the real problem? I know we've gone over time, but I don't think you care about getting over time, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, cool. So very briefly, why do you think all these men want to become women and some women want to become men?
Because I think it boils down to not respecting the institution of marriage, because the whole idea of gender roles would be enormously useful to you if you were looking for a spouse, right? Because if you were a man, you'd be thinking, well, I want, this kind of wife, and a woman would be thinking, if she's looking for a husband, that kind of a husband, and they would have gender roles in mind. It's okay, tall, dark, and handsome, for example. A woman just can't bear the thought of marrying a man who's shorter than her for some reason. Maybe it's kind of, deep down in our ancestral history about, well, a woman wants a protection, from a man, and she really doesn't think a man shorter than her could be, useful. So the idea is that if we perform our gender roles before we're married, then we stand a better chance of finding, a suitable spouse. But since these days we have sex before marriage, these things don't matter anymore, and nobody wants to get married, and it's okay to have illegitimate offspring. The whole idea of gender roles went out of the window with the idea of getting married before having sex and children.
Yeah, I do think the lack of relationships in our atheistic society, including marriage, does make people feel alienated and insecure and missing something, and then they think maybe the solution might be they're in the wrong body, or they just feel they don't feel at ease with their body. So let me ask you a question before we move on, and I'll try to tie it to your thing about marriage and stuff. Do you think one of the reasons why men are trying to become women and women are trying to become men is something to do with that they don't feel in our kind of individualistic society at ease with themselves, and that maybe religion would make them feel at ease with themselves?
Yes, I think the idea is that, okay, what I've been trying to say is that gender equality causes gender confusion. Confusion causes gender dysphoria, and it may lead to you thinking you're going to be happier if you change your sex. Because I think that instinctively we think if we do this big thing, our life is going to change for the better, and even if it's a very big mistake, at the time we don't care, we just obsess with it, and we just believe what we want to believe, and the doctors and the government are encouraging us to change sex, and by making it an acceptable lifestyle option, they're encouraging us to harm ourselves, and that's how evil they are.
Yeah, I mean, to back up what you're saying about taking a huge step like an operation, chop off bits of your body, thinking that's going to make you feel better. I think that's just an extension of this materialistic society where you just think, if I just take this drug, do this plastic surgery or do this other random stuff, I'll finally feel better. And what practically happens is I think they're more suicidal after 10 years. Like they feel a little bit good after 1 year because they go, immediately, let's say within 1 year. But then afterwards, they would kind of realize that we didn't really solve the real issue in their minds. Okay, one more thing. Let's move on. Oh, God, I keep clicking on it. Okay, 1 second. Whoa. Everything started closing. Last one. Huge thing. I'm sounding like Trump by saying huge thing, but it's kind of true, right? Okay, here we go. Last
We're
one.
talking about denuking, and President Putin and I agreed that we were going to do it in a very big way. There's no reason for us to be building brand new nuclear weapons. We already have so many. You could destroy the world 50 times over, 100 times over. And here we are building new nuclear weapons, and they're building nuclear weapons, and China's building new nuclear weapons, and China's trying to catch up because they're very substantially behind, but within 5 or 6 years they'll be even. And we're all spending a lot of money that we could be spending on other things that are actually hopefully much more productive. Hopefully there'll never be a time when we need those weapons. If there's ever a time when we need nuclear weapons, like the kind of weapons that we're building and that Russia has and that China has to a lesser extent, but will have, that's going to be a very sad day. That's going to be probably oblivion.
Like when Trump talks, sometimes you think he's an idiot, but like when you listen to that, he's like the smartest guy in the whole of every single. Is there like any other politician in any significant position that said these incredibly obvious things? Like this is huge, isn't it? Huge. That like for 50 years since the Second World War, they've been building up these things, and nobody thought there was a solution. This guy's like, yeah, I just talked to Putin and he agrees. Let's stop this thing. Like, that's insanely big. Like, if you care about humanity, you would be just like, as a Muslim, you should be praying for this guy. That's the automatic reaction. But unfortunately, I know lots of Muslims who hate him. Like, I don't think they get Islam or religion or whatever if they cannot be grateful for this. So it comes back to, I'll just click this. But yeah, what's your opinion?
They just believe the propaganda, right? Because the Western media are basically anti-Trump. Because he's going to change. He's going to change their foreign policy, and that's big for the arms manufacturers, who are the ones driving, U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah. Mainstream media has always supported every single war. They're connected to the war machine. Like, who does not know that? You have to be like, not know anything at all. So if you know that, then obviously BBC are going to say bad things about Trump because they're part of the same war machine, the same system of insanity. It has to be said. Actually, the Quran talks about this. Like, if you invest in, if you use interest, you rise like I can't remember the phrase, like an insane satanic person or something. Like you just go down a satanic kind of satanic path. So this is insanely good. Like, this is hope for the world. And quite frankly, if you still hate Trump blindly, maybe we don't deserve a good world. Like, if you're a Muslim and you think you're there for, and you can't be a little bit grateful, I think it's a skill to overcome your kind of like political leanings. I don't think I've got political leanings. I never was interested in Trump, right? I'm just collecting these things, right? But if you can be grateful, it kind of sets your mind aright. Like, it's be grateful to everybody who does something right. Then you overcome your default kind of emotional responses and you start saying sensible things. I think that's a good mental habit, just to be grateful to everybody so you can listen to everybody. What do you think about that? Like, if you might hate Trump, but if you like, okay, I could be grateful to Biden, yeah, and then I'll start listening to him. I don't know, what do you think about that? Or does that sound really complicated or something? That if you try to be grateful to somebody you hate, you might start understanding what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there is a saying, isn't there, that we should not let the perfect be the enemy of the good enough. So if somebody is coming your way, why not just be grateful for that, even though you don't like his whole package, right? But if he's coming your way, it's like, oh, you agree with me, but you're not agreeing with me for the right reason. So there are people who think like that. It's like, well, if somebody's agreeing with me, I'm not going to look too closely at why they're agreeing with me. I'm just grateful that they agree with me, and I want to, welcome them as a friend. Instead of saying, oh, but why do you agree with me? You have to agree with me for the right reason, or I'll kick you out.
Yeah, I think I kind of get what you're saying, because I see this kind of in real life, especially in the UK, where people just hate each other unless you completely agree with everything they say, which is really weird. Like you can't form a relationship with anybody if you have that attitude, because that would be very weird if you completely agree with another human being on absolutely everything. You're going to disagree with something. So
well, you don't even agree with yourself, because you're bound to change your minds on a few things as you go through life.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe this is kind of demonstrating sort of mental illness where you feel like, I think it's a huge ego problem. Like, don't try to feel you have to be right. Like I encourage people to tell me how I'm wrong, because I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong about Trump, right? Just tell me. Let me think about it. Give me an opportunity to tell me how I'm wrong. But But yeah, I'm not like attached to loving Trump or something. I'm just saying he's doing some really important, amazing things. So maybe if we would say, should we love, is Trump good? I don't know if he's a really good person, but he's doing good things, and I love him for that. I was brought up with this phrase: "Love for all, hatred for none." My default is to love people, right? If they're going to do anything good, I'll love them for it. That's it. So is Trump good? Yeah, because I don't know any more than that. What's your brief answer? Is Trump good?
I would say so, but then I've always admired the way he communicates his views very clearly without, without prevarication, and he is very unusual, and he should get more appreciation. And I think these days he is, and I'm happy about that.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I didn't really like Trump. I have to say, I thought Trump was an idiot for a really long time. So, and maybe I still do think he's a bit weird how he talks. Like he says Gaza's been, taken over for 100 years. He can't even be precise. But you know what? I don't care. Like he's saving people. That's enough for me. All right.
I think
Cool.
he's talking
Thank
about
you.
the Balfour Declaration, maybe.
Sorry?
I think he may be thinking of the Balfour Declaration in 1980.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe he's been actually more accurate than the rest of us, then maybe possibly. All right. Cool. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate Claire for discussing this really important stuff.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great conversation.
Cool. You won't change your mind on WhatsApp and insult me afterwards?
No, I won't. This is one of our best ones. So.
All right. Good. All right. All right. Anyway, always appreciate you being here, and thank you everybody, including Mike. Hopefully, we'll have you on here soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye.